What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Srtty Runback, here to be your weekly intake of North American Developmental League of Legends. We are back in our regularly scheduled programming, regular setup back here for me, as we had a wild last couple of weeks to open up the month of June.
Yeah.
But now we are here, and it is time for the NACL promotion tournament for Split 1, plus some other offseason news, some drama, of course, with your favorite streamers here in Tier 2, Tier 3. Here to talk about all of that and more. My name is Grapes, joined alongside Hawk. Hawk, how are you doing today?
Grapes, I'm doing good. You know, I've actually had a good week. Like you said, it's been like a really crazy month IRL, I feel like, for both of us, but we're kind of like almost getting back into the normalcy, other than the fact that I'm moving. But once I moved, it's going to be amazing. We'll have a new apartment. We'll have a new setup. This is not going to be the last episode that you see of me in this space. I'll probably have one more. But then I'll be like you, where I'm recording a Srtty Runback episode in a new place all the time.
Yeah,
and, you know.
I feel like you've been very consistent in your location.
I really have been.
Recording. So
yeah.
It's about time we get a new era of the background here for you.
It'll be a good change of pace. It was a good 18-month run for me here in Koreatown, but we're going up to the valley, so not too far away.
Right.
Still Los Angeles area, but you know, cheaper, bigger apartment. So that's cool. Yeah.
Very, very excited for you. Very excited for the promotion tournament that is going to be happening here today as you see this episode over the next 4 days.
Yeah, I'll be on. So tune in
3 more teams to
NACL.
the NACL. And there you are, Hawk. You're going to be on the broadcast for that first day as well. So the true fans of the league are going to be getting a lot of you today.
Yeah, they are. I mean, you guys might be hearing my voice for, you know, potentially like what Srtty Runback will probably be like 45 minutes and then 4 to 6 hours on the broadcast. It'll be a big day filled with Hawk. So hope you guys are ready. You also get me on the broadcast on Sunday and Beatdown's holding down the fort on Friday and Saturday. So, you know, get some of the kind of tier 3 veterans. It's been a little bit longer for Nate, but you get some of the tier 3 veterans coming out. So should be a fun time on the broadcast. Make sure to tune in, support all the teams, support the players. I'm going to be honest, Grapes, kind of before we get into our first headline, I feel like this promotion tournament has maybe the most parity going into it that I've ever expected.
I'm very curious to like break that down with you a little bit more as we get later on in the show, because I think I agree. However, like, I think it's a little bit harder to judge the states of all the teams for a multitude of reasons.
It absolutely is.
And I think after this first day, or maybe at least the first 2 days, we'll know a lot more, which I guess is kind of like a big duh, obviously moment. But like,
because we'll have 2 teams in the ICL, that'll help, you know.
Yeah, you know, I think watching the first couple of days, it's gonna tell us a lot.
I agree.
Actually, now that I think about it, though, like after day number 2, we're gonna have 2 to 3 teams in, as you said. So, yeah. Maybe day 1 we could get a better gauge, but I think the fact that we haven't seen our NACL teams play in a very long time, and we've only seen the qualifier teams play for like 3 total weeks, and it's been a while since that has happened. Like, there's a lot of time between the games that have taken place. Almost 3 weeks by the time that this tournament does actually begin today. So there's a lot that we kind of are going to be going off of a limb and kind of going off of our most recent data and you know, information that we have publicly, but a lot of that could have changed behind the scenes at scrims or in tryouts or whatever. So just keep that in mind, as maybe our takes aren't going to be as accurate just because of that lack of data potentially.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. The lack of data definitely going to make things difficult, but I think that will also make the promotion tournament potentially more exciting, just because I think, given the strength of the rosters, expecting some good parity. But we'll get into all that later on. That's not what we're starting off the episode with, though. We can get into our first headline, which is sort of the big NACL news that's come out in the last few days. Near Airport has disbanded wholesale. We will have 3 teams now promoting into the NACL instead of just 2, which is sort of accompanied by a format change for the promotion tournament. We'll get into the promotion tournament implications a little bit later on, but just immediately, kind of first reactions, is it a major disappointment or acceptable that sort of the most popular team in the NACL has called it quits heading into Split 2?
This is a really weird announcement to get. I got it at, I checked my phone as soon as I landed from like a 14-hour flight back home, and I saw this headline as well as the next couple of pieces of news, kind of all in succession, which was a very big kind of a lot to take in at the same time. But I was not expecting this at all, actually. I feel like despite the fact that Near Airport season did not go as planned, there was some, different mental boom angles and situations that happened over the last couple of weeks, specifically with Winthrop and then, losing to Conviction in that lower semifinal. Top four was definitely not their expectation, but I thought that in a way it didn't matter because Split 1, like Double Lift often says, in this tournament specifically, really it doesn't matter because you could just go into Split 2, finish top 2, and make the promotion tournament anyway, which was their intended goal that they stated at the start of this project, at the start of this experiment. And so seeing them kind of not even get to that point after it was their big goal going into the event or going into the year was a little bit confusing to me. But I guess it just goes to show that these guys didn't really want to lock in and pull together a lot of hard work and realize that being a professional team and being in the NACL is going to take a lot more effort than maybe they originally intended, or maybe they did understand that this was going to happen but realized after doing it for a split that it wasn't what they ended up wanting to do.
Yeah, look, I'm generally in the camp of if the team doesn't want to put in what it takes to be an NACL team, it's probably just better that they left, give the spot to someone that wants it. You know what I mean? But I just think it makes them look silly, man. Because I feel like we talked about this when they formed of these guys, have had a history of not being lazy, but sort of, I think not putting in the same work that their biggest competition, Los Ratones, does, and sort of just that NA mentality of we're just gonna show up and we're gonna either dominate or it's not gonna be serious, this and that. And I just feel like that completely came true. As you said, they're not willing to lock in and get good enough to promote the LTA. And I know part of the reason that they disbanded is IRL stuff, but I feel like if they really wanted to, it'd be so easy to just make a couple roster changes. If DL and Bio don't want to play, let Sushi and Kelpo take the reins or whoever. I know Bio's going to school and all that, and that's great for him. But it just is I don't know. They didn't really do I think they got punched in the mouth in Split 1, and they kind of just decided they didn't have what it takes, and I just think it makes them look silly after all that hype. You know what I mean? Better for them to leave if they're not here for it. But I think Double Lift absolutely could have sat there and turned on his co-stream to co-stream their matches with a slightly different roster, and it would have been fantastic for the league, but it's not the direction that they chose to go. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just not impressed, I think, by the work ethic of our GOATs. But are we surprised?
No, I think going in, they kind of made it clear that they weren't going to be putting in the same level of scrim time and practice time as maybe some of the other teams, but they were going to try their best and go for it. And at the end of the day, if they realize that's not working for them, that's fair enough, I guess.
Yeah,
and part of me, I'm not super upset about the fact that they are kind of disbanding and not doing that strategy of maintaining their content streak and things like that. I know some players like Pobelter and Spica. I think Spica specifically kind of went on record and said he would have been down to run it back, but maybe not with a different roster, which could have contributed to that discussion as well. And it is going to be another team through promotion that is going to be getting that spot. And so it's not like a situation like Pulse randomly disbanding halfway through and then a team that doesn't quote unquote deserve it getting just randomly added a roster of 5 players getting slotted in. These guys are gonna
no
have
one's
to still
teleporting
earn
to
their
the
spot
NACL.
they're still going to have to earn their spot to the promotion tournament, even though it's now going to be a situation where there's 3 spots, so an extra spot gets opened up because of it.
Yeah, exactly. I think the best way I can describe it is I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, because Near Airport, I really don't think they've done anything wrong. That they're doing what they think is best for them, and it's not. I don't think it's hurting the system at all. The spot's going to go to a team that wants it and earns it, and all of that's great. I'm just disappointed. It's come on, guys. We could have done better if we had wanted to, but they don't want to, or at least enough of them don't want to, and I just think it's okay, well, that it is what it is, you know, and you know, it's fine. Like,
My yeah.
but yeah,
My
I don't think I
last
have
2
much else to say.
points.
I will say, sorry, really quickly, Pobelter to DSG looking a lot more likely if he's not playing in the NACL.
I still don't know. We're gonna have to. They
Yeah,
still
I'm really
haven't
curious.
announced
But
anybody
like,
just
who
yet,
the
but
fuck is DSG going to get? I mean, I don't know.
it'd just be like a homie move for Pope to step in, right? Because it's like I don't think he wants to necessarily go pro full time unless it's
Does
with
he
like
though?
his
Like,
boys or something. I think he went on record in the video, or
I
that's what I
think
saw
he's good
online.
enough
It
to
said, like,
save DSG though, which is why I'm like,
I'm sure Toast will be loving it. I just don't know if Pope is gonna be so willing to like fully dive in, especially with like a team of not like 5 of his friends. But we'll see exactly
we'll
if
see.
that
We'll
ends
see.
up being the case. The last 2 things I want to talk about here is one. This makes what Los Ratones are doing right now in EU Master Finals
It's very
for the
impressive.
second straight
It's very
split
impressive.
even more impressive. I mean, we've seen some other EU Masters teams like Nord, I think Verdant as well, like have some of these big streamers and come in and not have that same level of success, and that hit versus miss rate that we're seeing just gives so much more credence and credibility and respect to what Cadrill's been able to put together with those guys who just
Yeah,
really want to
and
win, are super driven all the time, and are really, really good, and showing that it's not super easily replicable.
and I think what makes them stand apart, right, is just the precedent that was set at the beginning, right? Because for Los Ratones, the goal was to win, and the goal was to be a pro team and to let the fans be a part of it, which is, I mean, not everyone's able to do that, you know? Like, I think it's great that Bio's, like, going to school, and, like, that prevents him from playing in the NACL. Like, honestly, like, genuinely good for him, but it is just, like, it's that difference of expectation that's set up front by the teams, right? And I think that is an important distinction. And to your point, like, not many people are able to do that, but Los Ratones is, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, and the other thing, if we want to get just a little bit philosophical for a second before we move on to our next headline, I feel like what this kind of has shown is, you know, like the whole promotion system with NACL, being able to like kind of play your way through. It's gotten a couple of big orgs through the door, like we have Dark Zero and Luminosity, but I feel like with this new format that they were issuing, like they were fishing for this near airport team to like kind of exist, and the fact that after one split it kind of has fallen apart and there's no other like OQ like big streamer team that actually has made it through. It's interesting to me for sure. It's like it seems like this was something that like Riot was hoping was going to happen, and it ends up like kind of failing and falling apart before it even gets to the finish line of the first year. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
I would agree. Yeah, I mean, I think like as soon as the new promotion system was announced, there was like the idea of like someone should get the band back together. You know, like there was like what if Sneaky puts together a team, or you know, like that kind of shit. Like, yeah, I definitely think they wanted that to happen. I think it kind of this is getting into his whole separate discussion, so maybe we should just move on. But I think it kind of points to like the what is tier 2 now, right? And maybe it kind of flows into our next headline, which sort of gets into what is tier 2, because we've had some roster changes between tier 1 teams and picking up some really great players, which is sort of indirectly also harming the tier 2 space potentially.
Yeah, let's get into that then, because there were more roster changes announced for the LTA North. We had Scary Jerry getting benched on Disguised for Rahel last time around. We now have Srtty from Dignitas being benched for Photon. Srtty no longer a part of the Dignitas organization at all. Meanwhile, Scary Jerry is still a part of Disguise. And Zamudo joining LYON Gaming, replacing Licorice. So one NACL prospect, one MVP in, one MVP out. And it's a very interesting world that we live in to see. As soon as Zamudo jumps in, Srtty ends up kind of bumping out of the league. And I guess the question is, you know, for somebody as promising as Srtty being kind of benched before he got a full year at his quote-unquote like franchise organization, are you worried about a player like Zamudo going over to a team like LYON, or is he going to be in a better position than Srtty to succeed as a part of this team?
I'm very worried for Zamudo. I'm going to be honest. Look, Zamudo is so talented, and I absolutely believe in him as an individual and a player to find success. But I do not think Zamudo is ready for the LTA. And that's why this move makes me so nervous, because he's also going to a bottom feeder team. Like, yes, it's not Dignitas, right? Like, and that was the big thing for Srtty, is he's going to Dignitas, and we've seen exactly what going to Dignitas leads to. But I think we have seen how good Zamudo can be, but he's still only really had like 2 splits of being that caliber of player. And I think a huge part of that is that Maryville was very committed to setting Zamudo, the person, up for success, right? And that's a huge part of player growth that we have seen over the years that a lot of orgs are just not able to achieve. Dignitas being one of those orgs. I'm not convinced that LYON is one of those orgs either. I'm just very afraid for Zamudo, because I also don't think he's going to like really fix the problems that LYON has. Like, even if he's better than Licorice, like hands wise, you know, is like, how is he going to fit into this struggling roster and suddenly carry them? Like, I just don't think he will. So I'm very afraid for this move. Like, look, when the LTA calls, you take the call, and I think Zamudo's doing the right thing for himself, probably. And I don't think people are gonna like. I don't think this could hurt his stock that much by going to LYON, but yeah, I don't think he's in a better position than Srtty was, which I know we actually disagree on.
Yeah, back-to-back bottom 2 finishes here for LYON. It felt like they were doing better at the start of Split 2, but then they actually ended up losing to Dignitas, which probably sparked some of the changes here. From what I've heard, or like what I've seen online in terms of discourse, like this team has a lot of like mental volatility issues, and for them, Licorice was actually somebody who was able to stabilize a lot of things. And so removing him for maybe a quote-unquote better mechanical player could like increase some of those problems instead of, like, you know,
which is
like,
not a situation that Zamudo will thrive in. I can tell you that, like, straight up.
Yeah, and we'll see. Like, I personally think Zamudo is more ready for the LTA than a player like Toasty, for example. Like, I think I don't know how much like another split for Zamudo in the NACL is going to necessarily like hone his craft for, you know, making a better place for himself in the LTA. Like, he's won the MVP and things like that. Sure, like extra time could help, but I feel like Zamudo actually is honestly in a very similar position to like what Srtty was like at the end of spring 2024, where I feel like Srtty's stock in summer 2024 didn't really go up or down by him playing on FlyQuest again. And if an opportunity opened up, I think he should have probably taken it.
I think the bigger thing for me though is I just feel like Zamudo really needs to be like an environment that empowers him to succeed, and that's what another split in the NACL could do for him, is not raising his stock as a player, but like Maryville could continue to empower him as an individual to like then go onto a team and like advocate for himself. I just worry that like LYON's not going to be the place at this moment in time for that to happen, because he's trying to come in to a roster that's not built around him, and he's going to have to be that new voice. Like that just it scares me. Do you kind of see where I'm?
That's very fair. That's very fair, and I'm curious to see how that works out, because when you rank all the top laners now, with Photon coming in to replace Srtty, like where would you rank Zamudo? Like, is he top half? I'm not 100% sure. There's a lot of good top laners in the LTA North. Like, I know we really appreciate him mechanically, but I'm very curious to see how that does kind of work out for him. The reason I say this is a better position than what Srtty was in is because Zamudo does not have Bakery as his GM.
Yeah, biggest fucking paycheck stealer in all of North American esports. I hope you're listening, Bakery, because you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot.
This is an insane move to do. Not necessarily
so
in
stupid.
Isolation, right? Like,
yeah,
in
Srtty was
isolation
struggling. Like, sure, the team wants to get better.
Yeah.
It's an upgrade. It is an upgrade, but like, it's not. It's a dumb move.
Okay, yeah. Is Photon better than Srtty? Like, you can make the argument, yes, although he was in like TCL this past year. Like, I don't know how much you're looking into that to like consider him like being a huge upgrade that's going to save your whole team. But the fact that like you promised this kid the prospect of being the franchise player of your organization, that you're going to build around this guy. He helped you build the roster for this organization, for this team. You got to put more trust in him than just one split. And panicking at the last minute before like split number 3, after you finish 6th place and only a maximum of 2 teams from your division make it into Worlds at all? Like, is that one little move going to save you at all? Or maybe is keeping Srtty around on the team for this year and beyond, and trying to build a little bit off of what you've like have put together for yourself, like going to help you for next year, and maybe even just like helping to build that synergy together. We started to see some positive momentum for Dignitas going into the end of Split 2, where they took a series over LYON. They made it into the playoffs after not making it last time around, and now it just feels like everything is just thrown out the window because there is a small, singular little upgrade. And so you're going to get rid of all your philosophy, all the tweets that you were talking about, saying like you're going to remember Srtty's name and he's going to be the future of North America. Well, not when he's on your goddamn organization, man. And it's wild, and it's frankly embarrassing to see
it's terrible.
A move like this be put into place. Even if you just like left him on the roster as like a 6-man unit, like a lot of the other organizations are doing, I think that would have been way more fair. There are other people on that roster that probably could have deserved to be kicked, to be replaced. I mean, a little bit earlier than Srtty, who is somebody who I think really can be a game-changing player in the league. There were so many better ways to approach it, and they did the worst possible thing every single step of the way. And it just, I had a little bit faith in Dignitas after they created this roster around Srtty, and they really decided to double down, and all of that respect and all of it has just been thrown out the window, and frankly, I regret ever trying to put any sort of trust in this organization for doing anything.
No,
right. It's completely embarrassing.
Fuck Dignitas and fuck Bakery, because, look, like I said, like honestly, Photon is probably going to be a little bit better than Srtty in the immediate. Maybe they come 5th instead of 6th, or even 4th if, like, you know, Team Liquid really falls apart or something, right? Like, whoop-de-fucking-do, you know what I mean? But it's an absolutely heinous move for multiple reasons that you sort of laid out. The biggest one being, here's a little bit of history about Dignitas, which is that I, in my frustration after seeing this move, had a tweet about them making playoffs for the first time in ages. It was an errant tweet because actually they made playoffs in 2023 summer and both splits in 24. Here's some information for you guys. Did you know that across both those 23 splits and both those 24 splits, they never had more than one player remain the same on the roster, split over split, for those 4 consecutive splits? So even though they were like barely scraping the playoffs, they were doing it with a completely different team because the philosophy is just, if we're not first, we need to fucking throw everybody out the window and rebuild. And lo and behold, they came like
so far, right?
Yeah, right. Like they just came 6th every split then with like a mid roster. They had never run back the same roster like at all, with the exception of split 1 into split 2 of this year, and then they go ahead and kick Srtty, which is, yes, he was struggling a little bit, but it's like, if you believe that this guy can be your franchise player, why the fuck are we not shooting Tomo and Isles out of a cannon and giving him a better bot lane or something? You know what I mean? Or just trusting the process. Or why do we have Keen playing mid lane when he's like, I mean, honestly, he was playing pretty well, but like, is that the guy that's going to carry you to Worlds and help Srtty become successful? Like, I just feel like the decision making is so backwards at that organization, where they throw all of their mental energy into thinking like, what could make us 2% better right now, and like they have zero regard for thinking about like any sort of long-term plan or any sort of business model for like actually developing fans. And
if you think that this roster of 5 was going to just be immediately top 3 in the LTA without any work about it,
you're such a dumbass. Yeah.
The way you take a roster like this to the next heights, to the international stage, is by developing your top side of the map, because these are newer players, specifically Srtty and Shaden. Like, if they grow into superstars, if they grow into stars, if the rest of the team is able to stay steady, that is how you elevate this team from being a roster that was probably about 6th or 7th out of 8 on paper up to maybe like a top 3 or top 4, like we're seeing with, for instance, Shopify Rebellion this split. That doesn't happen when you bench your player, one of those developing players after a split and a half.
And it's just like,
I'm barely counting
like,
split number 1.
You have to think about like your fandom too. Like a lot of people actually kind of dig this split because they had like the Srtty Shaden thing going on. No one gives a fuck about Photon. And look, I know winning's everything. If they're winning, people are going to like them more. But you cannot convince me that this Photon move is like going to like be the end all be all of, like, it's just so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yeah. I mean, that organization has not understood what it means to build a roster for
it is
ever since
actually
they got their way back into the
unbelievable.
league.
It is unbelievable that I was unemployed in esports for over a year and Bakery has a job. I'm just gonna say that. Like, it's genuinely shocking. Good job,
okay.
esports.
Well,
good job.
best of luck to Srtty. I hope he's able to bounce back and still find himself time and opportunities here in the league, because if that's how it goes out for him, like just what a shame, absolute shame. Last quick thing here is that for Zamudo's sake, it was kind of reported that it was a buyout situation for him to join LYON. That was not really a thing over the last couple of years, but people have criticized the buyout system in the past for teams like Cloud9 abusing it, and for people for talent being kind of gatekept underneath the tier 1 level. Do you feel like that is still the case? Are you still a little upset or worried that this is happening?
I don't care at all. It's a promotion league now. Like, you have to win, especially going into Split 2. These organizations have to protect their players. Dark Zero is spending quite a bit of money, I would have to assume, to partner with Maryville and have this roster with the hopes of going to the promotion tournament. They already lost UG, and now they've lost their MVP. Like, I think this is really good. And, like, look, yes, is it like a little bit shitty for the players? It is. But I don't think it's like inherently anti-player necessarily, because to be honest with you, if the LTA orgs want to promote native talent without like doing it themselves in the off season, right? Like, and they're bad enough where they have to make roster changes, pony up and spend some money. You know what I mean? They should be able to do that. So I'm going to call out like Nova. I love you. I think it's unfair to say that Dark Zero is jailing their players by putting a buyout. I think that's disingenuous.
The amount is like an interesting thing to discuss. Like, maybe is it too much money that they're being offered? Like, or
I can tell you that Zamudo costed $35,000 and Toasty Alex costs $40,000. I have those numbers.
I mean, I'm curious to see like what those numbers look like compared to maybe like Luminosity's players or any of the other organizations in
the rumors are that nobody on Luminosity wants to leave, so I don't know if there's a buyout anyway.
That's fair enough.
But yeah,
I'm
that's the information that I have.
I'm curious if any other organizations are also like conducting these buyouts and want to, and if their valuations are a little bit different, and
I think,
or if it's just like these big spending organizations like
Zero. I think if I had to guess, it's probably just the big spenders, but also those are the ones that are having their talent yoinked from them, at least more commonly. Like, I doubt anyone was looking at anyone that's not on Luminosity in Dark Zero. I mean, it was like very briefly mentioned that like maybe Darkwings got reached out to by Disguise, but like I don't think that's going to happen. And yeah, does Conviction put a buyout? Probably not, but they don't have like as much of an investment to protect. Conviction's probably not making the promotion tournament unless they go big with Griffin, which, rumor. So yeah, I really think it's fine. Like, I think Dark Zero is well within their rights to say, hey, we need a financial return for the development that we're doing of our players and the fact that now we might not make the LTA. And so I don't have an issue.
Yeah, I agree. I was curious to see what your thoughts
were.
No,
it's a good conversation. It's a good conversation. Yeah. And like I think it's like still like it's a nuanced one. But I would like to see the conversation not be that Dark Zero is jailing their players. I think that feels unfair to me.
Yeah, I'm curious like how much the amount compared to like the investment that they put in, or like how worth it is. Like, but at the end of the day, they did put the investment in, and they should do their best to protect it, because it wouldn't be fair for like Disguise to like just take all the variable players,
especially
like,
Disguise. Yeah,
split, right?
Disguise is a whole nother conversation, but I mean, I definitely think, but even for the franchise teams, again, because like they're the ones that should be able to like put up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like they have the more protected investments. So
fair enough. We've discussed a lot about some of the big news, the big headlines, but let's dive into what's happening this weekend.
Promotion tournament.
The NACL promotion tournament. There are games that are being played before MSI, and it starts here with 6 organizations that'll be fighting for now 3 spots for the NACL, which means that it's an added opportunity for some of our promotion level teams who made it through the open qualifier, which is a lot shorter than it was in seasons past. And I think something that we've seen split over Split Hawk is a world where the teams that are coming down from the NACL often feel a little bit mental boomed after like their tough season and going up against teams that have only been winning for like week after week after week. With the fact that we both have a gap between the end of the season and the promotion tournament, and because the OQ season was very short, it was 3 weeks compared to 10, do you feel like that's going to change and affect the way that these teams' mentals are feeling going into this tournament?
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting one because, like, AMI and Pulse haven't played in like 2 months, right? And that's always been such a big thing because those OQ teams would struggle for 10 weeks in most cases, CCG notwithstanding, 10 weeks to earn their spot, and they'd be playing consistently. Like, also normally like the OQ season would end like a week or 2 at most before the promotion tournament. Whereas this time it feels like the OQs ended like 3 weeks ago. And for some of these teams, they only played 2 weeks, right? Because they didn't have to do week 3. So I'm really curious because I do think there's going to be a definite like experience gap between these teams because, like, yeah, maybe AMI and Pulse, it's been hard for them to like work the last few months and capitalize on that NACL experience. But I just think with the OQ teams playing so much less, I really do think that's partially for me, Grapes, part of what A, makes these teams hard to rate, but B, does make me believe there's probably more room for parity in this tournament than maybe we're expecting.
You know what's funny is that AMI and Pulsar have played 9 best of 3s this season. Citadel and Dorado Gaming have played 5 best of 3s and a best of 5, which is honestly relatively comparable in terms of the number of games.
Four best of 3s and a best of 5. 4 best of 3s.
Right. Sorry, 4 best of 3s and a best of 5.
But still, yeah, you're right.
The difference is it takes place over such a smaller period of time, obviously, and having more time to scrim, more time to like build that bond.
But also, only like
helps.
2 of those best of 3s are real for those teams, so that's also an important
true
distinction.
As well. True as well.
And
I think
AMI and Pulse, well, not Pulse. AMI, they did do the 4 best of 3s and do a best of 5 themselves.
That is true. So they have that level of experience together. I, on paper, probably would have power ranked, honestly, like if we were just looking at the rosters at the start of this season, might have had AMI and Pulsar like towards the bottom of this pack. But I think you have to give them a little bit of credit, though, just because of the experience that they have had. Even though Pulsar went like 0-9, they took games off of some higher level teams, and I think overall that should deserve a little bit of respect. And I think a large reason, adding on to that, and I think also a factor as to why I feel like the promotion tournament is just kind of feeling a little bit more random coming in is the point that we talked about before, in that it feels hard to like fully buy in and feel connected to any of these 4 teams because of how little we have gotten to see of them, right? Like over years past, it's been 10 weeks of competition, best of 3s into best of 5s through playoff brackets and Swiss brackets. This time it was just like this one thing where we didn't get an official broadcast of any of it, and it was just watching it like kind of periodically across different community streams of these rosters, and mostly like checking match histories at the end of the day. So it is hard to like fully feel more confident about these qualifier teams, I think, for those reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like it definitely, we just don't have like the tape, the information. It definitely feels like more of a get the band together and play in the promotion tournament, even though they did have to qualify here, right? But I will say, regarding kind of the headline at stake with the mental gap, because we can kind of get into our power rankings with the 5th headline, but something to note as well is the NACL teams only have to win one best of 5. They start in a promotion series. Now, if you lose, you take quite a tumble, basically all the way back to square one. You join a 4-team soup, you have to win a best of 3 and then a best of 5, and only one of those 4 teams gets out. So my take is actually, I think that if the NACL teams do not insta-promote, they're fucked. But they only have to win one best of 5 and like just win that one best of 5. You know what I mean? So that is kind of my take. That's what I'm interested to see if it actually comes true. Because I think when we're talking about sort of the mental edge, it's so easy to just go in and say, guys, we only have to win one series. But I feel like it's going to be so hard to come back from like losing that.
I think, isn't it a little weird as well? I don't remember exactly what the seeding was like, but it is interesting to me that Apex like matches into the Citadel side of the bracket.
The Citadel is on the same side of the bracket as Apex. It's Apex. It's the Citadel versus Jolly Rogers to play Apex, and it's Cupid. I apologize.
And then we get a rematch of that series between Dorado and Jolly Rogers to play against Polestar.
Citadel versus Cupid to play Apex, and Dorado Jolly Rogers to play Polestar. You are correct. Yeah. So that
I guess I don't remember like who was seated higher, Dorado or Citadel, but I would have expected Citadel to be seated higher, and so for them to like be on the other side of the bracket. But I guess it just ends up being this way around.
Wasn't the Citadel like
they
not
might
even
have been
in the top
seed.
10 of seeds? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I don't remember based off of like my expectations, it was a little bit surprising to me. So maybe that side of the bracket could end up being a little more difficult. But speaking of that, let's get into our next headline, which is talking about the Citadel a little bit more. They were generally our consensus favorite to make it out and to promote when the roster was kind of announced, as it has been this iteration kind of staying relatively consistent throughout the first OQ into this one. However, it's been a little bit inconsistent from what we've seen from them. They dropped a couple of games to UCI. They dropped some other games, I think, on their way over there. And potentially don't look as strong as maybe the roster on paper seems. Will the Citadel Hawk be better than we saw in the OQs, or do you have somebody else being the favorite to promote after watching what they were able to do in those first 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's interesting because, man, you look at a roster of Philip Kennedy, Bradley, and Sync Diamond, and you're like, wow, that's an NACL team right there, baby. But then you watch them play, and they do not look like an NACL team. They barely promoted, let's remember. Didn't they go 5 games against UCI, if I'm not mistaken, in a promotion match? Which, credit to UCI, who had a really great promotion tournament. Unfortunately, was not able to make it to the tournament. But I think they overperformed, I think, people's expectations in general. So shout out to the boys over there in Irvine. But, yeah, this team is bad. And Grapes, I would give them more benefit of the doubt if I feel like this has not been the story all year, because it's a very similar roster to the one that we saw vying for a promotion spot in the first OQ. And to be honest with you, it's a very similar roster to what we saw play on UST and pretty resoundingly come 4th place in CLOL, which, while obviously is still very good, I think considering the field and how they looked against Winthrop, it was just not an impressive showing whatsoever. And it just feels to me like, especially Kenvy does not still have it, and Bradley does not have it in the lane phase anymore. And so I think looking at the seeding, I'm going to be honest with you, like, people would expect the Citadel to be the number 1 seed. I think Dorado's the favorite. I think they are the best team out of the promotion tournament. I think they looked like a more complete team. I think this team has sauce. I think they're much hungrier. And so I don't think I believe in the Citadel. I would love to be proven wrong because we've seen what these players can do, but they have just not proven to me that they are individually good enough anymore. And Grapes, we talk about seeding as well. Like, I'm pretty sure some of these players are like not challenger because they are not putting in the time.
They just don't play solo queue. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
definitely possible.
That's my take. That's my take on the Citadel.
I really like this Dorado roster as well, which is we'll get into our power rankings in a little bit, but I might kind of be inclined to agree with you that I think that they could be the favorites over the Citadel. I would have loved to see them play in a series. Not that it would have mattered in terms of promotion, but just getting a little bit of a preview to gauge the strength of these guys. But seeing Arion and Fadichan specifically, like, kind of have really good performances in their first ever qualifiers. And then you have, Kaido, Shochi, and Mixture, I think, all going to be very consistent players on that team as well. Compared to what we've seen out of the Citadel so far, I don't know. It's definitely possible that they are the favorites coming in, with that UST topside that you were talking about. It is Philip, I guess, coming in instead of Porsche most likely for some of this. So maybe just
Philip
2
has
out of 5.
also not like really been that good. Like he's been fine,
Yeah.
but
I'm very curious to see what the Citadel team looks like if they have decided to like lock in for this tournament, because I mean, I talked to Bradley a couple weeks ago, like during CELO, and he seems really driven to get back into the NACL. He feels like this could be like his last year to prove himself, and so
yeah.
wanting that opportunity, I think he's pretty driven. Hopefully, it kind of shows in the play that we see from them in this tournament, because yeah, for a lot of these guys, it could be that, quote unquote last shot. You think of Bradley, Kenvi, even like a Diamond, for example, who hasn't been around the NACL this season after being a mainstay for a while. It definitely kind of it can go into that conversation of like, these guys, how much do they want it, and this is kind of their chance to show it.
I just feel like I definitely agree with you on the Last Dance thing. Like I feel like if this roster of 5 can't promote together, why would any NACL team look at them individually in the future? Maybe Instinct. He's been trying in the team fights, but him and Diamond haven't been world beaters in the 2v2. I do feel bad talking about Bradley because I've always been a fan of Bradley's. It's just been tough because I feel like we're seeing a continuation of what we saw him struggle with on FlyQuest in the summer split last year, where it just looked like he was so dominant in lane. When he played on CCG, it was overwhelming. He almost got voted MVP after only playing 1 tournament. Like, it was crazy, right? But then it felt like on Fly, he really struggled to play, like, just like keep up in the 1v1. And I feel like we've seen a continuation of that throughout this year, where he's really not been dominant in lane phase the way we would expect Bradley to be. His team fighting has still really been fantastic, but I think it's also not helped that I really have not. I don't think Envy's had a good year, and that makes it tough to play mid. But yeah, I don't know. It's tough because I don't think it's exclusively like a drive thing. I think they want to win, but they just haven't. Yeah, I don't know. They're slumping. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see if the break helped them out at all as well. It's been 3 weeks for them to maybe lock in, scrim a little bit, get ready for these 4 days that could make or break their 2025. Remember, not much to play for until 2026 if you do not do well in this tournament. And speaking of, let's call our shots here in our last event. Yeah, sure. ACL, I think, is going to be implementing some NACL players, and that could be a fun league to watch. But in terms of your direct promotion and direct chances of going pro, this is kind of the last shot.
This is the last chance saloon for the big shot.
Yeah. Well, speaking of calling the shots, let's do it right now, Hawk. We have guaranteed 1 new team making it in, with the fact that only 2 teams are coming down, and there's going to be 3 total spots open with Near Airport disbanding. Will there be 1, 2, or 3 new teams in the NACL come Split 2 of 2025?
Whew, what a question. It's tough, man. But I think we will probably see... I'm between 2 and 3. Let me just like kind of call my shots really quick. I do think I kind of already said it. I do think Dorado is just able to run the top of the bracket. I think they are able to clear Jolly Rogers and Pulse. I think that they are a great team. I think they want it. I think Dorado's able to do it, especially like given their more favorable draw. I think it's fair to say. I think the Citadel versus Apex Mission Impossible is an extremely important series, because I think you really want to avoid the Jolly Rogers, because I'm very like, I think that lower bracket series to me like determines who moves on. Like between Pulse and Cupid, I just don't think I like care that much. You know what I mean? But like AMI versus the Jolly Rogers or the Citadel versus the Jolly Rogers to me feels like the other team that goes through. And so for that reason, I guess I'll say either 2 or 3. If you're going to ask me to predict, let me go with 2. AMI defends their spot against the Citadel, and then it's Jolly Rogers versus the Citadel kind of duking it out to make it to that best of 5 and then promote. Because I think that best of 3 in the lower bracket is like, I think that one's very dangerous. And so that's my prediction.
Give me Apex, give me Dorado, and then give me the Jolly Rogers as well to make it through. I don't. I'm gonna doubt the Citadel. I'm gonna doubt the Citadel a little bit here. I'm gonna have Jolly Rogers beating them in that lower bracket best of 3, which is gonna be the matchup that they end up going up against each other with. If it is Apex winning that best of 5 against the Citadel in that first, upper bracket.
Dragoon
area.
will not be denied in Grapes' mind. He never has been.
He's gonna make it back
from this end.
I will additionally predict that it's going to be a 5-game series against Nightstar's team in Cupid Esports, where it's going to be like a wild.
Honestly,
back
it
and
fucking
forth
will be, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, Pulse, if they go down the best of 3, they do lose, right? I already said that. Cupid in the final, fucking banger best of 5 against the Nightstar team. I'm so with you.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Get Hawk his screen time. Get him on the cast for as long as possible.
Give me another 5 games of Nightstar, like, please.
Yeah, exactly. Just
my God.
Run that back, because that was one of the most entertaining series we watched all year long.
Yeah.
And just like this, for a spot in the NACL. I really like what Jolly Rogers was able to put together in their series against the DIT Esports team. Obviously, like, how serious they're taking things compared to like a team like Cupid, kind of up in the air, but I would say on paper maybe that roster's a little stronger, and so
definitely
I'm trusting Dragoon. I think that Zev and Nukes have taken massive steps this year specifically compared to what we've seen from them in the past. And Will and Srtty, I think, are just going to be Will and Srtty. They're going to hold it. They're going to hold it down, and our Princes of Promotion are going to.
I'm going to say, is Dragoon and Srtty on the same team in the promotion tournament too powerful? Like, what if we're just sleeping on like Jolly Rogers? Like just runs the upper bracket and like they make it in immediately, because like that would be the most Dragoon Srtty thing to do, you know. It really would be. So we'll see.
Are you gonna lock into 3, or are you gonna leave it up in the air right now? Because you're kind of hedging yourself right now between Citadel and Jolly Rogers in that best of 5.
I think I'm going to lock in. Give me the Citadel, just so we're different. But dude, would it be funny if Cupid beats the Citadel, actually, to make it to NACL? What if I lock... Give me Cupid! Give me Nightstar in 5, man! Give me Nightstar in 5 over the fucking washed veterans. Sorry, Jolly Rogers. Sorry, Srtty. Sorry, Dragoon.
I say washed veterans, but like Lycomos is on this team, so...
Like, bro, he had the best tournament of his life. Like I'm
just saying,
he's
like,
having the
you're
year
talking
of his
about somebody
life.
who's been around for a while.
But he's not washed. He's like alive. He has never been this unleashed in his entire career. It's honestly impressive how like not washed he is right now, because I had never really considered the Lycomos hype train. No, don't give me Cupid. It's not gonna happen. Oh, but it like is really funny if it does.
You were just supporting them. You're gonna turn your back to them right now.
All right, give me Cupid in 5 over the Citadel. Jolly Rogers, 5, they go down in the best of 3. Give it to me. Right. Give me Cupid. Give me AMI. Give me Dorado. 2 teams.
All right, we're mostly aligned, and we'll see how we line up towards the end of things here. But that's gonna do it for our episode for this week. Apologies that we've only been kind of sticking to once a week, at least for the last couple. We'll see kind of what our schedules end up looking like, and how much news there is to talk about if we're able to get some interviews and extra conversations kind of thrown in here, because that is ultimately going to be our goal. But for now, this is kind of what we have the bandwidth for, just with some of our travel. But hopefully with things slowing down a little bit, by the end of this promotion tournament, we're able to get back on track with everything. Yeah,
our goal is, we should have a headlines episode next week. Like reviewing the promotion tournament, maybe a little bit of MSI talk, considering that starts also next weekend. And And then hopefully we can grab an interview with one of the players that promotes, release a part 2 for the first time in a couple weeks. I will say, like, after that, we might be a little bit like on again, off again, just because it is going to be kind of like tier 2, tier 3 off season. Maybe we could do some like Patreon MSI content or something. But we'll sort of update you guys as we go on that one, just given the state of things. But then obviously once the tier 2 season starts back up, we'll get back into it in earnest. But thanks everyone, for sticking with us. It's been a crazy season. And as always, kind of after CELO, we need a bit to take a breath. But promotion tournament is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in today to watch me on NACL, also on Sunday. And more importantly, make sure you support us here at Srtty Runback, at Srtty Runback NA on all platforms, as well as at Hawkcasts, at Speedy Grapes. If you think that Polestar has a chance in the promotion tournament, you can take what we said with a grain of salt. I've been Hawk, that's been Grapes. Have a good one, y'all.